Good. So welcome to our second Xero training with Rob Price from what's the new company now is
Arm Systems.
Arm Systems. There we go. Rob's been heavily using Xero for a number of years. And today is really about how do we use the report writing to get information. It's not about putting information into Xero. Is how do we get the information out? So welcome to everybody, and those that are watching the recording. We hope we'll give you some good ideas of what you can do with Xero. So I will pass it over to you, Rob.
Okay. So share this to start with. So hopefully you can see a screen that says Advanced Xero Reporting on it as a first slide.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good start. So just a very brief overview of what we're going to cover today. First, going to touch on tracking categories and item codes within Xero. Some of you might not be aware of them, maybe using them, but they enable the reporting a bit later on to be far more intelligent. So we'll touch on those, explain what they're good for. We'll then have a look at budgets, creating them, reporting on them, reviewing them, and being able to customize them. And then we're going to have a look at the profit and loss, how it comes out of the box in Xero, what you can do with it just as it is, which is quite a lot in its own right, but then also have a look at how you can customize it to the nth degree to suit your various different reporting purposes. And then beyond that, we'll just be having a little sort of high level overview of some of the other reporting areas that there are within Xero itself. So stop sharing that for a moment. And let's go into that one. Not that one. Yeah. That one. Oh, no, hold on. Momentary glitch. Let's move that over there. Let's cheat. Third time lucky. Right, hopefully you can see a Xero screen now.
We've got the PowerPoint.
Have you? That's interesting.
We had Xero a minute ago.
Oh, did you? So let's escape out of that. There's that.
You've got too many screens, Rob.
I know. Right. Right, what can you see now?
You can see Xero now, yeah. The demo.
Okay. Interesting. Because that's not on the same screen as where it is, but never mind, it's working. Basic overview, accounts, reports, and you will see a lovely suite of all manner of different reports that you can generate in various different categories. You've got your financial performance, financial statements, day-to-day stuff, your age payables and age receivables. If you use payroll in Xero, you've got a nice selection in there of very good reports, and then various other audit bits and pieces and transaction ledgers that you can play around with to your heart's content. So the first thing I want to touch on are tracking options and items, or products and services as they're called now within Xero. So within settings in Xero, you have the ability to add what's called tracking categories. For those of you that have used other accounting packages, maybe Sage, QuickBooks, these will be called department codes instead quite often. And in this demo company, there's already been a tracking option added, which is region of the country, so east, north, south, and west. You can have up to 2 tracking options. So you could create another one that could be, I don't know, sales consultant, for example, and you could have category options as their names. So Peter, Kevin, Jane, whatever you could. So as much as however you think in your business, you'd like to be able to drill down into your sales in more detail predominantly, whether that be an area or a type of sale or a business stream, this is where you could put in those couple of tracking options. So I'm not going to save that one. I'm just going to leave the one that's currently in there because I can then show you how that works. So then whenever you create a new sales invoice or bill, you're then able to add to it the tracking category. So if I look at one of these, this is obviously stuff that's already been curated. You've got the tracking category here, which is the region, and you could edit that and very quickly just put in the region that it relates to. And you'll then see how this gets pulled through as we do some reporting a bit later on. So, and literally, obviously, if you had 2 tracking options and you'd named them whatever, you'd have region and then sales consultant in here. And it'd be up to you whether you populated that information or not. The other useful bit of additional reporting functionality that Xero gives you is item codes, or as it's also called in here, products and services. So what this enables you to do actually has 2 separate functions. One, if you're selling a load of different products and services, it allows you to be able to list all those products and services in whichever manner you want to, which when you're then raising sales invoices, if you just click on the item, so if I give you an example of that, you don't have to then type hundreds and hundreds of lines of text all the time, because literally all you're picking up is the item code, tell it what it is, and it will bring through all the rest of the information that you've already preset up. So the quantity, the unit price, what code it's going to. So if your business is fairly systematic in that respect, it's a great way of saving an awful lot of keying in time once you set these item codes up. If you've done that within Xero,
can you import those, Rob?
Yes.
I mean, you...
hold on, let's double check before I definitely say yes, because most things you can import. Yes. So you've got an import item. So import items, and then you can download the template, populate it with the relevant bit of data, and then just upload it back into Xero. So, and in fairness, I don't think you can see that now. I don't know, can you see the Excel sheet or not?
So yes, we can. Yeah.
Yes, you can. So basically, that then is just the fields that you need to complete to be able to put that information in, and that's it. So that's all very easy to populate in one go into Xero. In terms of the reporting side, once you've been able to do that, so back in reports, as a result of putting in the what they then call it, just to confuse matters, inventory item details in here, you can actually then very quickly see your sales by item. So you can then very quickly see over any period of time that you want to change, whatever it may be. You can sort it by item code or description. You can quickly build up a picture of what are your main sales items, what the total sales are of those items as well. So it just gives you a bit more detail to be able to drill into very quickly. So that's pretty much it on the tracking items and sales code. So if we go have a look at budgets.
Any questions on that? Does that anybody that's before Rob moves on?
Just to say, anything in here you can drill down onto. So everything that's in blue here, if you suddenly went, I want to see all those items that make up that sales line, then unfortunately in this one it's just one. That's not a good example, but it would list them all as well. So you could go in and interrogate every single line entry if you wanted to. Let's go back to the demo company. So in the financial section, we've got the area where you go to create budgets. And we have a budget manager here, which is where you'd start from. Now, I've cheated because I've started to create one in readiness for today's session. So I'm going to go into what the proposed budget is. And you can do exactly the same as with the items. You can actually import a budget into here. But to be honest, it's actually easier to put it in directly rather than manually keying in all the figures into Excel and then importing it. And I'll show you why it's easier for a number of reasons. This gives you the ability to populate a lot of data very quickly. So first of all, on any cell, you've got a little green arrow you can click in. You could just change the actual amount to £20 and then click away, and that's the end of it. But what you could do is click on that green arrow, and now it gives you a number of options. You could say it's £20 for every single month of the year. Apply that to every single month at a click of a button. You can tell it to adjust every single month by £1. If I do that, you'll see it goes from 20 to 21, 22, 23, etc. Or I can go, I'll start at 20, but I'm then going to increase it by 10% month on month. And you'll see that will go 20, 22. And because it's obviously this is roundings, it'll then suddenly jump up by £3 one month from 26 to 29. So you can very quickly put in a lot of data and also play with that data and see what the result is by putting just different scenarios in place. Suddenly going for your sales, for example, do you know what? I've got it in as 4,000 a month, but you know, hopefully I'm going to increase month on month by £500. There you go.
I assume, Rob, you can't put in a formula, so it couldn't be 10% of sales.
In terms of no, you can't. So if I clicked on there for a cost, it doesn't give you an option to do it as a percentage of sales, no. So I've gone through what you can also bring through into here is, or you're not too sure what's happened in your previous year. So we got start at April 20. If you've got the actuals here, if I put actuals for 12 months and update this, this hasn't got any data in it, but it would actually show you month by month all the actuals since the beginning of the year. So it would help you very quickly be able to see on there if you wanted to what's been going on, or you can see none of it or just the previous 3 months, which is how I've left it. You can go further forward with your budget if you wanted. So you can do a budget as far as 24 months in advance, if necessary, but most of the time in Xero, you'll only be doing it for 12 months. You can also do it for shorter periods. If you revisit your budgets every quarter or every 6 months, you've got that ability in here to only do them for 3 months at a time or every 6 months. Again, you can export that straight into Excel or a CSV file. So if you wanted to have a further play in Excel and do some charts and graphs from it, which Xero doesn't do, then you can very quickly export this into Excel and have a play around in that respect. So let's see. Cancel any changes that I've made to that. Right, so if you go back into reports, once you've set all your budget figures.
Rob.
Yes.
Sorry, sorry, I was just fiddling with the unmute button. Can I ask a quick question on that budgeting?
Yeah.
So on my Excel spreadsheet budget, I have a sort of summary tab, and that will include you know, sales, direct costs, and then overhead, salaries, establishment costs, administrative costs, and things like that. And then I have another tab that feeds into that. So I'll have a tab on, say, sales, or a tab on administrative costs. Is it possible to, because if I had it all on one big spreadsheet, on one big budget sheet, then it would be quite unwieldy and difficult to look at. Is it possible to get that through this budget manager? Does it have like the tab options that then feed through to a summary budget?
No, in here it doesn't, because you'd need to put the detail in. Well, you don't have to put the detail in by line, but in here it's really getting you to put that data at a sort of a line by line level of granularity. I can show you how you can do that slightly differently when you come to customizing of reports, because you can populate the data directly into a sort of a customizable format, which will then allow you to only look at certain areas of the reports if you want to at any one time. But it doesn't do it in a tabular style as you get in Excel.
Okay.
I think it would also, obviously this is for putting information into the budget, isn't it, Charlie?
Yes.
So the way I would do it was I would import, export, well, go through the import process. If you just click on import, Rob, and get the template out and just open the template up. So I would have this template as another tab, and then use your spreadsheet that you do your detail calculations, and then link it back into the template. So each one of those would come from your, you know, your more detailed calculation, and then this would feed back into the budget that way.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Charlie?
Well, I'm not quite sure it does, but there's only to hold other people up. But yeah.
So you do your budget in a spreadsheet, don't you, with a number of tabs? So you basically add this tab, you add this format to the front of that, your budget spreadsheet, and you link all of these accounts to a cell on your budget, and then it will automatically, you play with your figures as you normally do, it'll automatically update this, and then you just import this page back into.
I have to import it, but I have to import it every time.
You have to import it every time, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Bye. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So. Okay, so then we've got the actual budget variance report, which is where it starts giving you a bit more valuable information. So right, layout. So I'm going to edit the layout of this because this brings through the overall budget, and I want this to bring through my proposed budget. Okay, so I can very quickly now look at last month, for example. This update. So it will pull through what the predicted budget sales figure was, which was 8.5 grand. You've got your actual sales for the month, 11 grand. It shows you the variance in value. And it also shows you the value in the variance in percentage, which is quite useful because you might have something a bit later on when you get down to the cost, for example, where you have 100% variance, but it's 100% variance on £2 and you don't care. But you might have a 1% variance on something that's 100,000, and that you might care about. So it's quite useful having the variance in value and also the variance in percentage. So it helps very quickly to draw your attention to the ones that you really want to worry about. You can very quickly change this. So you can look at the last quarter. You can obviously do exactly the same for the last financial year. You can compare it to different types of accounting. So if you don't do the normal standard accrual basis of accounting, you do it via cash, you can do that and it will update. Let's put that back to accruals. If you want to, you can get rid of the decimal places. You can show the account codes.
Always get rid of the decimal places in this stuff.
Yes. You can get it to show all the account codes as well. And you can also then further edit this. But I'll show you more about that actually in the profit and loss side of editing things. Otherwise, I'll just be repeating the process twice. You can then, as I said, as before, like most things with Xero, you can export it. So if you then use this, for example, to generate some fancy charts and graphs in Excel, dead easy to do. You've also got the option to export it as a PDF or into Google Sheets if you use Google Sheets. You can also filter this report into different regions or different sales consultants, or however you set up your tracking options. And this is where you're starting able to build up a much bigger or more detailed picture of your organization and how it's performing. So this could be service sectors, this could be different products or different regions, however your organization is set up. So I can select all of these, apply this, update it, or, which is of more value, is, oops, I can just look at certain areas. So this is just looking at the West Coast. It will tell you what the region is there, and it will give you all the figures that you need to pull through from that. What you can also do is you can actually set budgets in here for different regions. So at that stage, it wouldn't just pull through the actual figures against that region. You'd also get a specific budget for that region as well. So you do have that ability to set up budgets per region, and you do exactly the same. Just go into edit layout, and you would then select the budget that you wanted to show against this report. And that's really most of the stuff in here in terms of the budget variance. The variance in terms of you getting value and percentages. As I said, you can very quickly look at quarter to date, month to date, last financial year as comparative. Yeah, any other questions in terms of the budget variance report?
The one that I like to see is last year's sort of period, this year, and the budget. sort of all on
Yes.
one page. So I'm not too fussed about the variance percentage. So can you replace that with sort of adding last year on there as well?
Yep. So you could. So you can get rid of the variance percentage. Just delete that column straight away. So down here, you could get rid of. What you can then do is, let's just do that one, for example. So you could show financial year, and then you can change the financial year here, column 2021. Then in there, you could put financial year, leave it as this year. That's proposed budget.
You want to insert a column, don't you?
Yeah. So you'd go. Range financial year, do that one. So that we are going to go. Date. Financial year. That'll be 2022. Done. Let me go back to that and I'll remove the other columns, then it will make sense. So edit layout.
Would you just
Yeah, you could literally, or you could just drag and drop. Yeah, you can do that as well. And then you could literally have a variance that goes, do variance, pull that across into there. Right. 21, 22, variance as a percentage. Then let's get rid of all these. And then we'll put that to this financial year update. And then all of a sudden you've got the information for 2021, 2022, and then you can see the variance. And if that doesn't make a lot of sense, you'd swap that the other way around and put 2022 at the front. So again, you could very quickly do that. Just put that over there. Like that. And then change that to the first column being 22, that being 21. Done. And now you very quickly see that your sales are 4,000% up for 2022 to 2021, for example. So if you had obviously more data in the demo company here, this would be a lot more meaningful, but you can see how quickly you can move things around and get the data you want out of it.
And when you've saved that, where does that now appear?
Yep. So that you'd save as a custom report. So now if you go into reports and you go custom, there you go, budget variance. And there it is, ready to go.
The original one is still in the, you can't actually mess that one up, can you? That first one.
No, you can't. What you could do is where you have this save as custom, you have the ability here to make this custom report the default one. So if you didn't want to see the other budget variance report as a first off, you could make this your default report. I wouldn't bother personally. I'd leave it saved as a custom report, and then you've got the other one there to just go in and have a further play around with as and when you want. And then any that you then find useful, and you've got it into the format that you want to, for your purposes, save it as a custom report. The other reason for doing that is that what you're doing here for your reports for your organization affects how other people see the reports as well. So if you decide, oh, I really like this one, I'm going to make it custom report the default, that means anyone else who sees reports will see this as your default. So I'd just save it as your custom report and leave the default one alone.
Any other questions on the sort of budget reporting? Good.
Okay. So profit and loss. Okay, let's do this for this financial year. Okay, so this is straightforward, out the box profit and loss layout. But even with this, without getting into doing any major editing, which we'll touch in a minute, there's still a number of things in here that you can do very quickly. So you can compare this with previous periods. You can go back 4 years. There's probably no data in here for that, but you could very quickly pull off and see your profit and loss account for as many years as you want. You can actually add you can go back as far as, I don't know, you could go back 10 years if you had the data in here. I'm sure no one's going to be that sad, but you know, if it's in here, you can report on it. But probably what might be of more use is you might want to see quarter on quarter or month on month. So last month, and I want to see the previous 4. So now you see Jan, December, November, October, just in a few clicks of a button. You can again filter this. So if you suddenly say, I only want to see you know, a particular region, you can do that. Another useful thing though, is if you are using tracking, then to get the most out of it, you should be assigning every sales transaction to a region, and any costs that directly relate to those regions, you want to record those as well. You can very quickly have a look at your unassigned costs. And by doing that, you suddenly go, oh, I forgot to put where that sales invoice should go. So you can click on the entries or the amount. It'll then give you the individual entries. You can click on one of those and go, damn, I put West Coast, I forgot to that one. Edit. West Coast. Save, job done. So it gives you the ability to very quickly interrogate your data and make sure you haven't missed anything as well. So one of the other useful things this will do, so let's remove that. You can have a look at everything. Let's just change this. It's financial year. You can very quickly get a picture of your costs by percentage of turnover. So funnily enough, very similar to what Kevin was asking for, could you set your budget by percentage of turnover? No, you can't, but in the profit and loss, you can very quickly look at your cost of sales and all your other costs in relation to your sales. So if I leave that, I'll get rid of the decimals, percentage of turnover, update. So sales, obviously it's doing it against sales. So sales is 100%, but then it'll show your cost of sales. It's only 5% as it stands, but you're spending a fortune on your advertising and marketing compared to your sales. So you can very quickly get an overview of where your money's going out in comparison to your turnover. And that's again straight out the box just by hitting a couple of options as opposed to having to go digging into any editing layouts. Again, you can change it from accruals basis, which is bog standard, to cash if you are running a cash accounting system. But that's probably the stuff of most interest. Let's get rid of that. So let's have a look at how we can now start making this even more useful. So I'm going to just delete a lot of these. This was me playing around earlier. So I'm going to make this for the financial year. Let's delete these. Okay. So so this is basically the current layout as brought straight from the profit and loss. But within here now you can play around with this to your heart's content. So one of the first things that's quite useful to do is you can group together accounts. So for example, a fairly easy one, let's do cleaning. So all your office costs, cleaning, light, heat and power, rates, what else we've got, rent, telephone and internet. That'll do. So let's say we want to group that selection. We're going to call it office costs. So just here, debit and credit positive. Most expenses are debit positive and your sales are credit positives. So we'll select that. And that is that done. So now I've got a nice little arrow there, office costs. It's all there in its total, but we're just going to leave it like that. You can then do that with a whole load of these other things. So all the tax things, for example, you could corporation tax, or where else? Depreciation, there might be another one. Or how about all the staff costs, salaries, oops. So salaries, staff training, pension, medical insurance, employers' national insurance. Again, group selection, staff costs. And that's it.
And if you want those staff costs to be up in direct costs,
yes, you just click on it, drag and drop. Simple as that. Yeah, so very easy to start condensing all these very quickly. And then if we were to hit done on that, hopefully. So you should see office costs there. Now the staff costs and so on probably haven't appeared because I don't think there are any costs actually against them. That's why it's not actually in the list. But the office costs are there. And to show you what you can then do once you've grouped something, let's say you've got, you've got your staff costs, office costs, marketing, advertising costs, maybe all grouped together. You may then want your first page to show that shortened version do your profit and loss. But there might be a particular area that you then want to sort of expand it back out. So we can do that in the editing the layout. So you've got text box, text fields here, if you wanted to, where you can enter a title. notes to the accounts, and you could put in here, you know, anything really. Turnover up in Jan due to relaxation of COVID rules. Okay, that's that. You can also then put in a schedule. So for example, we know we've got all the office costs in here that are hidden away. We can now go into this and add a load of accounts. So just type it in, rent. Yeah, I want the rent in there. I want the rates. I want the cleaning.
So you'd have to go for each individual account. You wouldn't just put office costs in there.
Yeah, you have to go and select these as individual because you're breaking it back out again. It doesn't, yeah, unfortunately it doesn't quite work that way. Having said that, you should only really be doing this once, really, and then using it as your format going on. So there's a bit of fiddling about, but once it's done, hopefully that forms the basis of your reporting to either, you know, your board of directors or just to yourselves or whatever it may be. So you start to build up a reporting pack that you can use on a monthly basis. What else can you do to this? You can then put additional footer as well if you wanted to. You can very quickly click on it and delete it as well. So if I click done on that, now you see that we've got this at the bottom. It doesn't finish there because very quickly you can go, oh, I want that to be under there, so I'm going to move that down. Just moves it down, and not only does it move it down, it renumbers it for you automatically. So move that down. So you can quickly move things around and have a good old play about. But you can get quite a lot more complicated with this. So, for example, I will show you what I have done earlier. Let's come out of this. Ports. So, it's a custom report that I saved earlier. And here we go. So this, go to the edit layout just so I can show you. This is looking at a quarter. It's then looking at the proposed budget for that quarter. It's giving you the variance for that quarter. And it's also then breaking down the quarter by the different regions and then showing you any unassigned things so you need, so that you know to go off and reallocate them. Not only that, but this is also putting some additional items in. So if I, where are we, gross profit. So I can add, where is it? Rows, footers. I can add, honest.
Add rows.
Yes, I can. Thank you. Formula, there it is. So I can add in here a formula. So not only do you get your gross profit, but you then get your gross profit percentage. So gross profit percent, and you can go turnover divided by cost of sales. And that's it, done. If you now hit done with this. So now you'll see you've got gross profit percentage. Unfortunately, it doesn't put the actual percent symbol in, which is slightly annoying. It doesn't. But you can very quickly add all those additional formulas. You can even put if statements into this, but I'm not about to start playing around with that. you can see very quickly how you can build up reports. You can add a column very quickly, whether it be a formula column, budget column, percentage, which is what this is for the variance, or your regions, as I've done here for East, North, South, and West. And it's as easy as deleting one, adding it, a region, and it will pick that up automatically because you've put in your tracking. Search tracking items, decide which one you're looking for, whichever one I just got rid of, east side, ticket. We're doing this for quarters, but if you wanted to change them all, you could change them to financial years very quickly, or month to date, quarter to date, all those things. Oops, helps if I add it. So region, oh, it's there, sorry, not paying attention. So I put it there, and then I decide I want to call it Q3 east side. There you go, done. And that one, just get rid of very quickly. So you can add all manner of different columns. You can group all manner of different sections. So you can have a whole load of administrative costs, selling distribution costs. You could do it as office costs. And you can very quickly play with this to your heart's content. And again, once you've got to something that you're happy with, you click done. You don't want to go all the hassle of doing it all over again. You just save it as a custom report. And then that's the rest of it is really going off and having a good old play around and having a bit of fun with it. You can't break it. You can start afresh if you get stuck. You can save it as a customer report once you've found something that works for you, which you can then use, as I said before, as part of a monthly reporting package. And something that you can save a lot of time with in terms of getting a lot more reporting data out of Xero.
If I don't know the answer, but if you've got multiple companies, can you use a report from one company in another company?
No.
You've got to recreate it from scratch.
That is the only. What you can do is you can, if you're dealing with multiple companies within Xero, that's the one thing Xero doesn't do. It doesn't give you the facility to be able to group, have a group function. So at that stage, you'd be looking at two separate instances of Xero. You'd set the report up the same, and you just export them so that they're into Excel side by side, and you can very quickly, therefore, get to the information that you need. Any questions on that before I just give you a very quick overview of anything else that we have time for? No? Okay. So let's go back to reports. What else? Depending on to what level of detail you use Xero, obviously you've got all the stuff you'd expect, your aged payables summary and aged receivables. If we go to aged receivables, even within that, you can very quickly filter that to give you more information. So if you wanted to, okay, I know I've got these debts, but I want to see the person's email address or phone number, or whatever it may be, you can apply those and get it to come up. You can do exactly the same.
And that would be insert column down that bottom.
Yes, Dan. Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, so you'd insert the column and then, yeah. So So then reports. Payroll wise, if you use payroll, which I'd recommend if you're using Xero, because you might as well integrate it. If you've got tracking options within within Xero, you can also allocate your payroll to those tracking options. So you can have, you know, your 50 staff and 10 of them work for the east side, 10 work for the south, whatever it may be. You can set it up so their costs will go not only into the main salaries code, but it'll also go direct into their region or sales team or whatever it may be. So therefore, again, in terms of being able to get profit and loss by department or by sector or by region, it means it's all integrated and you're able to do that at a click of a button. Inventory, bit like sales by item, but if you use Xero to track your items, you can get a little bit of a sort of stock report. So not only do you see what's gone out, you see what's come in, and you see how many units of golf balls that you've got left. So very quickly you've got 160. So if you track your inventory, you can do that to a degree. It's not a full-blown stock management system by any stretch, but if your stock control is relatively simple and straightforward, you can use this to give you a bit more control on things. What else? Oh no, not that one. So apart from that, really, you've got obviously all the stuff in here that you should have from a compliance perspective. So from all the payroll side, you get to all your P11, your P60s information. All this links directly to HMRC, so uploads everything. You have got different types of reports in terms of balance sheets and profit and loss formats. So anything that's got 3 dots by them, if you click on it, you'll also see you've got the opportunity to view an older version of this report. So you might find, so some of the stuff that I've just set up, for example, looking at the different regions, in the old version, you could do this very quickly just by clicking a button. And suddenly you can see east side, north, south, west coast, unassigned in one report very, very quickly. So sometimes it's worth just having a little play at the old version of the reports, because sometimes they're actually more helpful depending on your requirements. Same applies to, as I said, anything that's got 3 dots by it. Balance sheet report as well. Again, there's an older version of that. Still works in exactly the same way in lots of respects. Previous year, number of years, 4 periods. Off you go. Very quickly, account name, account code instead. You can filter that by regions as well. So it's all fairly intuitive. As I said, you can't break it, so you can play around with these to your heart's content.
And you can edit those in a similar way, can't you? But not quite
no, these old versions, you don't have the ability to do well, you've got some layout options, but it's nowhere near as comprehensive or as user friendly as you can see from this, compared to trying to do that in the new reports. And you only get the sort of newer layout with the new reports. I think that's probably about it.
Yeah, I think that's about it. We're sort of just a minute left. So any final questions for anyone? Did that hopefully gave you an overview of what it can do? I mean, I've used it. The best thing to do, I found, is just play with it. You know, move things around. You know, it really gives you an insight to what can be done. But it's pretty comprehensive. You know, if you think you can do it, then you pretty much can do it. certainly on the reporting side of things, percentages, variances, that formula thing is quite handy if you want to just look at advertising costs as a percentage of sales, add a few things together. But I think the big thing for me is get your profit and loss accounts into a really meaningful format where you're keeping control of particular cost centers, because it's much easier to read and then make decisions on it rather than a big long list of overheads and not really having anything meaningful from it. So cool. Okay, well, look, thank you very much for coming along, everybody. So good to see you. If there are any, please do contact Rob. It's if you want to email me, and I'll pass your details on to Rob. I know a few of you are already talking to Rob, but if you've got other systems that want to be integrated into Xero, then Rob's the man to bring that in, and even have dashboards that sit above Xero that can pull information from many sources and really give you an insight to the business as a whole. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you again soon. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for your time.
No
See you,
problem.
everybody. Take care.
Cheers. Thanks.